Coming up on Sportsource, the Gladiators are rolling in the regular season, but can they bring home the hardware? And Rylan Zaborowski hits bombs for the Bulldogs, but what's going on off the diamond? Plus, now that Georgia's out of the dance, are fans holding on to SEC pride for March Madness, or do they want less orange in the Final Four? Sportsource starts now. Welcome to Sportsource. I'm your host, Jet Rawls. First up, the beautiful game and a high school team in preparation to make a run in the postseason. With me now is Sportsource reporter Kylie Sharp, who talked to the Clark Central Gladiators about their hopes for the playoffs. Kylie?
That's right, Jet. The Clark Central boys soccer team is off to a hot start and is currently 11-1 with just 3 games left in the regular season. However, they were in a similar position last season when they lost in the Sweet 16 of the state playoffs. I caught up with senior goalkeeper Wyatt Mayer, sophomore striker Henry Payne, and head coach Chris Aiken to get their thoughts on this season and why this one just might be theirs.
After graduating 14 seniors and losing others to injury in MLS Next, many fans thought that this would be a rebuild year for Clark Central boys soccer. The team, however, has never had that mentality and has used social media to spread the message that this year is their year. Across social media platforms, the hashtag #OurYear can be seen in almost every post this season. While many thought last year's undefeated season would be the year, senior goalkeeper Wyatt Mayer describes why he thinks this might be the one.
When you play for Clark Central, there's no rebuilding years. It's only about making sure that you put your best foot forward every season, every game, every minute of a game. So our year is just reinforcing the idea that no matter how far we get, this is our year together as a team to go out and make an impact.
While this team might be playing like teams of Clark Central past, head coach Chris Aiken notes there's one thing that is different about this team: their age.
This particular team is much younger than previous rosters I've had. I think we've got 9 sophomores on varsity and 5 juniors and only 4 seniors. And so I think the younger team has a lot more fire to them because they're constantly competing for where their role is on the team and trying to establish priority and who's going to get playing time, starting, things like that.
Henry Payne, one of the new sophomore faces Aiken mentioned, has continued to shine as a striker for the Gladiators. Even as a sophomore, Payne can acknowledge that this team has the chemistry to go far.
We have a lot of great players that have played together for a while. We're a good group. We're all friends. We have great seniors that lead us, and most of us we've been on the team, and we have great chemistry.
While the team this season has a lot of new faces than last year's, the weight of the playoff loss still remains a driving factor for Mayer, who was a standout in the goal last season.
I think in a lot of ways it was kind of a gut check, because I think even a couple of years before that team played together, I think there was a sense that that was like Clark Central's year. So to lose in that way, that was really tough. But coming back this year, regardless of what happens that year, you have to regroup for the next year.
Aiken relates to Mayer on the disappointment from the 2-1 loss to Dalton in the second round of the state playoffs, and notes while it may have been disappointing, it still doesn't change their winning culture.
The expectation is that when you show up here, you're always competing to win. There is no other goal. We talk about that, if not daily, hourly, that everything you're doing, there's a winner and loser, and we're competing to win here.
As the Gladiators gear up to finish out the regular season, it will be interesting to see how they take the Our Year mentality into the postseason. For the Carmichael Sports Media Institute, I'm Kylie Sharp.
As Clark Central begins to wrap their regular season up in the next couple of weeks, all eyes will be on the Gladiators to see if this year really could be their year. Although the trophy hasn't been to 350 South Millage Avenue since 1999, a winning spirit is still embedded in their program. Back to you, Jet.
Thanks, Kylie. Sounds like Coach Aiken has his team playing with a chip on their shoulder. It'll be interesting to see how they fare in the playoffs. Coming up next, we caught up with Rylan Zaborowski ahead of a big conference matchup with Texas. Later, are diehard Georgia fans ready to root for their SEC rivals? Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sportsource. From one hot team to another, we're moving to Bulldog baseball. Reporter Ansley Gavlek got to meet with one of Georgia's biggest bats ahead of their road trip to number 10 Texas. Ansley, what have you got?
Georgia baseball is off to its hottest start in program history, boasting a 29-2 record and leading the nation in wins, home runs, and runs scored. Even without Charlie Condon, the Bulldogs' bats have been on fire this season. But there's one player in particular who has been leading the way. I caught up with Rylan Zaborowski to talk about all things baseball, family, and hobbies. Check it out. You transferred to Georgia. So first off, what was that transition like for you, and what was your decision like to come to Georgia?
The transition was pretty easy. Wes Johnson called me right away, like 10 minutes into the grad transfer portal, and I already knew that this was going to be my first option. So it took me a day to say yes, and not taking a visit was interesting because I haven't been to Athens before, but the transition was easy. Everyone was very nice and welcoming here, and Coach Johnson welcomed me with open arms, and all my teammates so far have been great, and it's just been a very fun transition, very fun year so far.
Yeah, and now being a grad student, how have you seen yourself grow from being a freshman to now, especially now being one of the top players in the nation?
I mean, it just shows that time flies. College, I think, is one of the most fun experiences anyone can have. And, just taking your time through it, I think, is important. Education, obviously, is important in getting your degree. But, my last year here, I'm only taking 3 classes, versus the years before I was taking 5 or 6. And, this year I've really learned to slow the year down and just enjoy every minute of every day that I get to live out here. Yeah.
Was there a certain game or practice that you just felt like everything clicked for you this season?
So far, I think the weekend against Columbia I think it clicked for me the most. It got me ready for Kentucky. But again, that was a very fun weekend just to get the offense going and also experience all the other home run celebrations and everything with my teammates.
Yeah, and I saw that your parents and siblings also have an athletic background. What was your childhood like for you growing up with that background?
It was very competitive. My little brother plays baseball at Utah Valley. He's a 2A up there. So just every day it was a lot of wiffle ball. It was a lot of playing catch, and especially with my parents. My mom played volleyball in college. My dad played basketball and baseball throughout high school. And as well as my cousins, I have a cousin who pitches at Cal State Fullerton as well. So just growing up with them, it's just super competitive, throwing the wiffle ball as hard as we can and, seeing how many home runs we can hit in the home run derby.
Yeah. And growing up, who is your favorite MLB player? And if that's different than who it is today, who is that?
It's always been the same. It was always Mike Trout. I was born and raised in Southern California and had season tickets to the Angels growing up and was very fortunate for that. So I got to watch a lot of Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, all those guys. But Trout, I just love the way he plays the game. He's very humble, always hustles, and I think he's my all-time great.
Yeah, and then last question, I hear that you're really good at Mario Kart. When did you pick that hobby up, and how are you so good at it?
So I had the original Wii growing up, and I always played the Mario Kart on there. My older cousin Kyle ended up getting the Switch right away with the Mario Kart a couple of years ago, and I just picked it up and started playing it a lot. But then all of a sudden we got the Switch here, and I'm like, oh guys, we gotta play some Mario Kart. And some guys were good, some guys were okay, but after about like 2 weeks, it got very competitive, and we'd play it in the team room on the big screen, and there's a lot of yelling and a lot of competitiveness. It's a fun way also to connect with them off the field.
If you ever need a baseball lesson or a Mario Kart lesson, it sounds like Zaborowski's your guy. Back to you, Jet.
Thanks, Ansley. Coming up on Sportsource, just how strong is the conference pride in Georgia fans? Is it enough to root for your rivals? Don't go away. Welcome back to Sportsource. The SEC has been known for decades for its fierce rivalries, but also its pride in being an elite conference. No matter if it's on the gridiron, the diamond, or in this case, the hardwood, the SEC always represents itself. That's no different for this year's Final Four. But are Georgia fans feeling the SEC pride for 2 of their biggest rivals? Sportsource reporter Wesley Branch took the streets to find out. Wesley?
Thanks, Jet. After a long season and record-breaking year for the SEC, which saw 14 teams make the NCAA tournament, we are down to just 4 teams overall. 2 of those 4, of course, are Georgia's biggest rivals, Florida and Auburn. The winner of this SEC matchup in the Final Four in San Antonio gets the right to compete for a national championship. We've seen plenty of SEC fan bases cheer for their conference counterparts in the past, but are we sure that the Bulldog faithful will follow suit? Are Georgia fans putting their loyalty to the SEC or their Georgia pride first during the Final Four this weekend? I hit the streets to find out what Bulldog fans will be cheering for this weekend. Here's what they had to say. All right, so today we're asking people around campus if they're cheering for Auburn or Florida in the Final Four, or if their Georgia fandom is too big to cheer for an SEC rival. So what are your thoughts?
I as the hot dog, am rooting for Florida, if only because I've selected Florida as the winner of my entire bracket, so I have a whole lot of points riding on it. And in my bracket right now, I'm number 1, so I can't slip. I'm all in on Florida.
Neither. Go Dogs.
I don't know. I'm a pretty big Georgia fan, so I'm going Georgia all the way.
I do have a little bit of pride, but at the end of the day, I think I am going to cheer for my SEC teams because I do have a lot of SEC pride. So
I'm typically a big Georgia fan. I would never support any SEC school, so I think Houston's going to win it all.
All right, so Auburn and Florida in the Final Four this weekend. Are you cheering for one of the SEC schools, or are you too big of a Georgia fan to cheer for a rival?
You got to root SEC, but if I had to choose one of the two, I'm going to go Auburn. I got a bunch of buddies that went to Auburn, and Broome, too, is tough.
What about you?
I agree you have to root SEC, but I'm going to be rooting for Florida because I really can't stand Auburn fans.
As you can see, Georgia fans are split. Some are standing firm in their conference pride, while others still have the hatred for their rivals running through their veins. As for other parties, their sole rooting interest comes from what's best for their brackets and winning their bracket pools, even if that means cheering for an SEC foe. No matter who they or you are cheering for, the blend of conference loyalty and feelings of disgust for one's rival is what makes the SEC so special. Back to you, Jet.
Thanks, Wes. It seems like team pride plays a factor, unless your bracket isn't busted. That's a wrap on this week's Sports Source. Thank you, God bless, and we'll see you next week.
Coming up on Sportsource, Westminster baseball breaks a 3-year drought with a long-awaited region win. And Georgia and Texas face off on the diamond for the first time in 21 years. Plus, as the NFL draft approaches, which Bulldogs are the fan favorites? Sportsource starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to Sportsource. I'm your host, Skylar DeLuca. First up, the Westminster's baseball team is on the rise, securing their first region win in 3 years. Sportsource reporter Frankie Hennessy is joining us with a story about the team and how they plan to keep this momentum going. Frankie?
That's right, Skylar. The Westminster Lions haven't exactly had the most lucrative last few seasons, but that all changed last year when they hired Juan Raniero to be their head coach. Now in his second season leading the Lions, they found their footing and have a region win under their belt. I sat down with him, along with a few of the Lions themselves, to find out what makes this team so special. When you think of Westminster Christian Academy, chances are the baseball team is not the first thing that comes to mind.
Certainly, as I've been growing up, baseball isn't really a well-liked sport around here.
But that all started to change 2 years ago when the Lions hired Juan Raniero to take the reins of the program. Raniero, who had mostly coached college ball up until that point, said it took an adjustment, but he's been finding his way.
The challenge is me and being patient and seeing. I see the improvement, but I want it to happen so fast from one day to the next. So being patient, giving them the opportunity to try to learn the skill, be able to master the skill and be able to play in that skill. And it's hard, it takes time and it just takes patience, but I do see it happening, and obviously the results are showing that we're heading in the right direction.
The coach isn't the only one noticing improvement either. Senior William Green, who has been with the team since his freshman year, commented on the changing atmosphere and what it means for them.
I think we've gotten way better in terms of our technique, and especially one of the major things I've noticed in my years here is that younger players are producing way more than they used to. We have several freshmen on our team that are playing at a really high level right now. I'm really proud of them. It's great to have them here. I think we play a lot more loose. We have some more fun than we used to, and I think that allows us to play more free and have better success.
Other players have noticed the change as well.
Since Raniero's been here, he's really been changing the culture at our school. More love to the baseball program, a lot more success. We're just growing together as a team through that.
Since Coach Raniero's gotten here, the atmosphere's felt a lot more professional. We've been able to, I feel like our practices have been smoother, communication's been better. We've been able to do stuff over the summer, which has been really great.
With 11 games left in the regular season, the Lions will have to lock in to secure their spot in the playoffs, something that seemed so far away the last 2 seasons, but is certainly attainable this year. No matter how the rest of the season goes, chances are that this group of Lions will go down in history as the group that turned it around. From the Carmichael Sports Media Institute, I'm Frankie Hennessy. With 7 wins already, there's no telling how far these Lions can go. Back to you, Skylar.
Thanks, Frankie. It sounds like Coach Raniero is determined to turn things around, and this first region win in 3 years is a big step forward. We'll be watching to see if Westminster can clinch more victories this season. Coming up next, a top-tier showdown between two national powerhouses, number 3 Georgia versus number 5 Texas, in an SEC matchup. To break it all down, I'm joined by Sportsource analyst Aiden Daly. Let's get right into it.
This one has all the makings of an instant classic. Two powerhouse teams with historic programs and more than just bragging rights on the line. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Sportsource. Georgia enters this match on fire, riding a 3-game winning streak, while Texas looks to defend their home turf with a balanced, high-contact offense. This is more than just another regular season game. It's a rematch 21 years in the making. Back in 2004, Texas sent Georgia home from the College World Series after 2 straight wins. Now, Georgia's looking for payback, and they bring one of the most dangerous lineups in college baseball to do it. The Bulldogs come in at 29-2, crushing opponents with power bats like Rylan Zaborowski and Robbie Burnett, who have combined for 29 home runs. Meanwhile, Texas at 23-4 has a more contact-heavy, defensive-minded approach. Let's start here. Is Georgia's power too much for Texas to handle? I'm joined by Sportsource analyst Aiden Daly to unpack this matchup.
Thanks, Skylar. Georgia's facing its biggest test of the year this season in Texas team that has climbed all the way up to number 5 in the rankings. Beyond exacting their revenge for 2004, this game has massive postseason implications. Both teams are tied for first in the SEC with an 8-1 conference record. A win for either team will boost them up in the standings in terms of seeding for the conference tournament. And with both teams eyeing a trip to Omaha, this could be a preview of an even bigger showdown down the road. Let's start with why Georgia can win this game. Their offense has been red hot. After losing last year's number 3 overall pick, Charlie Condon, many thought the Bulldogs might take a step back at the plate, but that hasn't been the case. Instead, they lead the SEC in home runs and slugging percentage and rank 2nd in batting average during conference play. A big reason for that, transfers of Robbie Burnett and Rylan Zaborowski. These two have been tearing up the SEC leading boards, ranking top 5 in slugging, on-base percentage, OPS, RBIs, and home runs, where they sit at number 1 and 2. For Georgia, the formula is simple. Their pitching doesn't have to be perfect, but if their bats can stay hot through the weekend, the Bulldogs have a great chance to leave Boston with a win. But on the flip side, the Longhorns are no joke either. They're one of the most well-rounded teams in baseball, and they don't really have any holes in their game. Texas's pitching staff has a combined ERA of 3.13, good for 2nd best in the conference. And they have a deep hitting lineup, with 5 players hitting over the 300 mark this season. But if they're going to win, they're going to have to do it without All-American outfielder Max Bellew, who missed the rest of the regular season with a fractured thumb. The junior's absence leaves a massive hole in the Longhorns lineup, one that will be incredibly difficult to fill.
Georgia's offense has been outstanding, but what happens if Burnett and Zaborowski struggle under the pressure? Texas is one of the most complete teams in the country, and if Georgia's big bats go cold, who steps up? The Bulldogs need more than just their stars to keep pace in this showdown.
You are absolutely right. That's where Georgia will lean on the leadership of their head coach, Wes Johnson. In just his 2nd year, he's already built an impressive resume, posting a 72-19 combined record and leading the Bulldogs to the NCAA Super Regionals last season. On the other side, Texas is led by first-year head coach Jim Schlossnagle, a proven baseball mastermind. Expect a strategic battle between these two, with key decisions on batting lineups and pitching changes playing a huge role in the outcome of this game.
With all that in mind, it's time to make a call. Will Georgia continue to dominate, or will Texas rise to the occasion and defend their home turf?
Honestly, this game feels like a toss-up, but if I had to pick, I'm rolling with Georgia to go into Austin and keep their hot streak alive. The Bulldogs' pitching has taken a big step forward in recent games, and when you combine that with their explosive offense, I don't think Texas will have the firepower to keep up. I'm taking Georgia to win this one, 8-5.
You heard it here. Our analyst is sticking with Georgia to come out on top. But Texas isn't backing down, and the atmosphere at Texas's home field will be electric. First pitch is at 6:30 p.m. Central. Thanks for breaking it down, Aiden. Coming up on Sportsource, we talk about the NFL. Which UGA football players are people excited to see in the draft? We'll find out after this short break. Welcome back to Sportsource. With the NFL draft approaching, fans are keeping a close watch on their favorite Bulldogs. Sportsource reporter Kaylin Vidal hit campus to see which players Georgia students are most excited about. Kaylin?
Thanks, Skylar. With 17 former Georgia players entering this year's NFL Draft, football fans are wondering what teams their favorite players are going to and what they will do when they get their opportunity of a lifetime. Here's what football fans had to say about their favorite Bulldogs. With the NFL Draft coming up, which Bulldog are you most excited to see play at the next level?
Yeah. I mean, Dominic Lovett is definitely the guy. You know, I think everyone's a bit excited for. Lovett, he's got it. He's next up.
Awesome. Which Bulldog are you looking forward to seeing play at the next level?
I'm most looking forward to see Michael Williams play.
Definitely Malachi Starks. I've just heard a lot of great things about him. He's going to the next level and he's going to be big.
Which Bulldog are you excited to see play at the next level?
Give me my boy ETN.
Okay. At the next level.
I'm excited to see what Tate Ratledge does in the NFL. I'm excited to see him.
I'm looking forward to see Tate Ratledge.
With the NFL Draft coming up, which Bulldog are you most excited to see play at the next level?
Probably Dominic Lovett. He did such a good job here at UGA.
Awesome. With the NFL Draft approaching, which Bulldog are you most excited to see play at the next level?
I am so excited to see Trevor Etienne play at the next level because he was so great in the Texas versus Georgia game.
Which UGA player are you most excited to see play at the next level?
I'm most excited to see Tate Ratledge because his legendary career here at UGA, but also we played him in my rival high schools.
Awesome. What a fun connection. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
For the Carmichael Sports Media Institute, I'm Kaylin Vidal.
Now that the winningest class in Georgia football history is set to move up to the professional league, it'll be exciting to see where each Bulldog ends up April 24th through the 26th during the NFL Draft.
Thanks, Kaylin. I think we can all agree the Georgia Bulldogs continue to dominate in the NFL Draft. With a record-setting 15 players drafted in 2022, it's always a great day to be a dog. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Sportsource. I'm Skylar DeLuca. See you next week and have a fantastic weekend.